In the shadows of our past, we often harbor regrets, wishing for a chance to rewrite the chapters that caused us the most pain. For Eleanor, a young woman in England, her life was a tapestry of manipulation and abandonment, orchestrated by those she trusted most. After a tragic end in her first life, fate granted her a second chance, a rebirth on the very day her nightmare began. What follows is the story of a woman who chose to break the cycle, reclaim her dignity, and witness the poetic justice that unfolds when the truth finally comes to light. My sister became pregnant out of wedlock and disappeared after giving birth to a baby boy at a small private clinic in London. The doctor found my home based on the address she left, and left the child with me. My parents knelt and begged me to adopt him. And so I, an unmarried young woman, struggled to get by with the child. Just when I had finally managed to raise the child, my sister returned standing next to a big boss adorned with a gold chain. She held her son and wept, saying that I was jealous of her, that I had stolen the child, causing a separation between mother and son. My son resolutely severed ties with me and threw himself into her arms, while my parents kicked me out of the house. The neighbors condemned me in writing and in speech, and in my despair, I jumped from a building to take my own life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day my sister gave birth. As dawn broke, there was a loud knock at my door, and I was drenched in cold sweat. In my past life, it was around this time that the clinic's doctor boisterously knocked on my door, awakening all the neighbors. In front of them, he handed the child to me, reprimanding me for being irresponsible for having a child. Later, I found out it was my sister's child. My parents pleaded with me to keep the child, and since I had no desire to get married anyway, I agreed. But later I hated my choice back then with an intense passion. Hearing a sound, I couldn't help but shiver. Get up and open the door only to see a familiar face. Dr. Higgins, you gave birth to a child and abandoned him. You should know that abandonment is against the law. The neighbors all woke up, each one stretching their necks to watch the excitement. I stared at him, and in the next moment, I took off my slipper and swung it down onto his face. You shameless old bastard! How dare you come in front of me and play the victim? I don't even have a boyfriend, let alone having a baby. Have you ever seen a mother who just gave birth still able to fight like this? Do I look like someone who just gave birth? My series of actions left that doctor speechless. And at that moment, my neighbor, Mrs. Gable, across the street finally reacted. That's right. Eleanor goes to work every day, and I've never seen her with a big belly. Isn't there a mistake? I recognize him. Isn't he the doctor from that clinic on the high street? I stood with my hands on my hips and shouted, You shameless old fool running a shady clinic and trying to scam me. Call the police. Call the police. Upon hearing that I was going to call the police, the doctor panicked. Two won't argue with you. I grabbed his hair. If you won't argue with me, there's no way I'm letting you go just like that. Saying that, I called the police. Hello? Is this 999? Someone is trafficking in babies. Stop talking nonsense. When the police arrive later, if you don't explain yourself clearly, I'll smash your clinic. Heaven has given me a chance to be reborn. All the grievances I suffered in my past life are now vented out. When the police arrived, they saw the doctor holding the child, bruised and battered. And there I was, in my pajamas, holding a slipper filled with rage. The neighbors all gathered around, listening to the unfolding events. The police looked at the baby in his hands, still freshly born, the umbilical cord still attached. What's going on here? Speak honestly. This is the address and name left by the patient. He pulled out the medical record from his pocket. The police checked and confirmed that the address was indeed mine, and the name matched as well. I crossed my arms. I have no idea. And I don't know who used my name to have a child, trying to take advantage of me. As soon as I finished speaking, my parents, who had been silent until then, appeared. Eleanor, since you don't want to get married anyway, why not just adopt it? Mom and Dad, what kind of talk is this? How could I casually adopt a child of unknown origins? I don't even know what his parents do. What if they're drug addicts? Those bad genes can be hereditary. I don't want to raise a thankless child. My parents were left speechless by my retort, while the doctor beside us wore a grim expression and thrust the child into my hands. This is your family's child. I'm done here. You tell Beatrice to take care of her son herself. If I had known your family was so unreasonable, I wouldn't have come. Suddenly, there was an uproar all around. Everyone realized that this was my sister's child. You're talking nonsense. At first, you said it was my child. And now you're saying it's Beatrice's child. Do you have any evidence? Without evidence. You want to leave the child at our home? Officer, I seriously suspect he is involved in baby trafficking. After saying that, I shoved the child back to him and crossed my arms, completely ignoring everything else. Mum was shocked and said, Eleanor, Mum and Dad, don't be so confused. There are many fraudsters out there now. Mrs. Higgins also interjected. Old Mr. Evans, don't talk nonsense. The doctor said right away that the child is Eleanor's. And now he says it's Beatrice's. It's all nonsense. Yeah, who knows where it was taken from. Suddenly, the doctor jumped up. I, Higgins, have never lied. I've been running this clinic for many years. How could I deceive people? It was clearly last night when your sister ran into my clinic, begging me to deliver her baby. I still have the phone. She pawned. After saying this, he took out the phone from his bag. And when I looked closely, it was indeed Beatrice's. My dad and Mum also froze in shock. This was concrete evidence. Without a doubt, it was Beatrice's child. The neighbors began to gossip. Beatrice, so young, has actually had a baby. Whose child could it be? Who knows? Usually, we can't see the person. And they dress so loosely. I never imagined they were actually pregnant. I don't even know who they were fooling around with outside to have a baby. You guys are talking nonsense. My daughter is just fine. This time my mum jumped up saying, If you keep talking nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart. Higgins looked disdainful. Beatrice said that after giving birth, I should bring the child to your house, saying she wants her sister to raise it. Officer, I have a letter written by Beatrice herself. After saying that, he took a letter out of his bag. This letter didn't exist in my previous life. Even when Beatrice returned to reprimand me, Higgins jumped out to speak for her, forcing me to my death. This dog thing is definitely not a good person. Higgins scoffed. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come. What bad luck. The police officer sighed. This is your family matter. Handle it yourselves. I grabbed the police officer's sleeve. This is not a family matter. Just based on a phone and a letter, you conclude that my sister had a child and ran away. What if she dies at the clinic? The police found it somewhat reasonable. So, they immediately took Higgins to the clinic. My parents followed along and I quickly packed my luggage. There's no way I can stay in this house. After I came out, a neighbor saw me and asked, Eleanor, where are you going? I'm moving out. Of course, otherwise, if this child ends up with my parents, I'll have to take care of them. Beatrice had a wild child on her own. She can't expect me to take responsibility, right? I'm not married yet, and if my in-laws see it later, they'll think it's me making a mess. They nodded repeatedly upon hearing this. That's right, Eleanor. You need to think of yourself. Hurry up and go. How pitiful. Beatrice killed her. No way. I didn't care about what they were saying and quickly made my escape. As soon as my parents returned, I had already gone to the company dormitory. Soon after, I received a call from my mum. Once connected, her voice was urgent. Eleanor, where have you run off to? On the other end of the line, I could still hear a child crying. I calmly replied. I've moved out. How can you move out? What will happen to this child if you do? It seems my mum and the others went to the clinic and confirmed that this child is Beatrice's. That dog Higgins really did deliver the baby for Beatrice. I just don't understand why they are so determined to keep their eyes on me. Mum, what does this child have to do with me? I didn't give birth to him. The priority now is to find the child's father. No more talking. I have to get back to work. Bye. After hanging up the phone, I went to work as usual. At that moment, Sister Chen from the office quietly approached me. Eleanor, do you have a boyfriend? I can introduce you to someone. I initially wanted to refuse, but then changed my mind. Sure. Who are you going to introduce me to, Sister Chen? My nephew, 3 years older than you, is a veteran and now runs a small restaurant. Shall we have lunch together? I readily agreed, and Sister Chen was delighted, immediately calling to invite her nephew. In my previous life, I raised a child. Seeing that I was exhausted, Sister Chen introduced me to several side jobs and also urged me to find a man. But I was afraid the child would feel wronged and didn't agree. Now that I think about it, I was really foolish. I met with Arthur for a meal, and we both had a good impression of each other. We added each other on WeChat and decided to spend some time getting to know each other. Sister Chen came back to ask me, and I nodded. Not bad. Let's see how it goes. She was overjoyed. I tell you, if it works out, he won't treat you poorly. I've watched this kid grow up. He's tough. I blushed, and Sister Chen became even more excited. Just like that, I started dating Arthur. And for half a month, my parents didn't look for me, and I didn't go back. But I didn't expect that my mum would actually come to the company. That day, I was at work when the security guard suddenly called me. Eleanor, come out quickly. Your mum left your son at our entrance. Hurry, and take the child away. It's so noisy. When I heard this, my mind buzzed. What child? I haven't even married. Where would I have a son? Don't say things like that. I intentionally raised my voice so that everyone in the office could hear me. The security guard was speechless. How would I know? Just come down and have a look. I hung up the phone and everyone was staring at me. What happened, Eleanor? I don't know. The security said someone claiming to be my mum brought my son over. Sister Chen couldn't help but exclaim. Is that so? That's really something new. Let's go and take a look together. Yeah. Is this trying to stir up trouble or what? Eleanor has a son. I didn't see her with a big belly. Maybe she had him a few years ago. Who knows? Today's young people have messy personal lives. Hearing this, Sister Chen also looked at me with suspicion. I pretended to be confused, and Sister Chen couldn't tell. When we reached the security checkpoint and saw that baby, everyone was dumbfounded. Sister Chen breathed a sigh of relief. How could this possibly be Eleanor's? This baby looks like it's not even a month old. Exactly. Who's so vicious? If it turned out to be a child a few years old, Eleanor would never be able to clear her name. This isn't destroying someone's innocence. I sneered inwardly, and the security guard was at a loss for words. The person claims to be Eleanor, but I don't know. Upon hearing this, I asked him to check the surveillance footage, but I found that the person who brought the child was someone I didn't recognize. I immediately had an idea. Call the police. This person is not my mum, and I don't know her. Everyone hesitated for a moment, and I shrugged my shoulders. This is an abandoned baby. I'm in sales, and have handed out who knows how many business cards. Who knows who is impersonating my mum? I'm not going to raise someone else's son. Everyone felt this made sense. So, they called the police. After the police arrived, they took the child away. I even specially asked, where are they taking him? Where else could they take him? If they can't find his parents, he can only be sent to an orphanage. I felt a sigh of relief in my heart upon receiving an exact answer. In this lifetime, I will never raise this ungrateful wolf again. As soon as the police left, I received a message from my mum. Eleanor, your sister has gotten in touch with us. She said she's working outside. And since we're getting old, we really can't support her anymore. Just treat her as your own. I immediately replied, Mum, what are you talking about? I already have a boyfriend. And I will definitely have my own children when I get married in the future. I absolutely do not want this child. I didn't mention what happened today, and she didn't say anything either, so I pretended I didn't know. Arthur was indeed very good to me. After 6 months, we got engaged. On our wedding day, I invited my parents and relatives over, and after that, we applied to go to the branch office, and Arthur's restaurant followed suit. In the days that followed, except during festivals, I never returned, even if we went back. We hurriedly left after a brief meeting. I had a daughter, and 2 years later, I gave birth to a son. Completing a good family. My son was smart from a young age. He was admitted to Cambridge University's youth class at 15. And when the news came, the whole family was overjoyed. Arthur went all out, taking the kids and us back to our hometown to hold a banquet. Relatives and friends all came. Even my parents were here, although my son, Arthur Jr., is only 15. He is tall and looks about the same size as my daughter. This also led my parents to think that the child was Beatrice's. My mum held my son's hand and patted it. If Beatrice knew the child was doing so well, how happy she would be. Mum, on such a joyous day, why are you bringing up Beatrice? Has she come back? My mum's eyes flickered for a moment. No, she hasn't come back. Sigh. After all these years, she hasn't even come back to see you two old folks. Something must have happened. I've heard that once a person disappears like that, they are basically lost for good. Over the years, I've heard relatives gossip about Beatrice with my deliberate promotion among neighbors. Everyone knows that after giving birth, Beatrice ran off and hasn't returned during any festival or holiday. So, everyone assumed that Beatrice had vanished from the human world. But only I knew that my parents had been in contact with her all along. Hearing me say this, my mother immediately looked displeased, her sharp voice cutting through the entire hall. What nonsense are you talking about? Beatrice is alive and well. Suddenly, everyone around turned to look at us clearly, and my mother felt awkward and embarrassed at that moment. I chuckled. Seems like, Mum, you still have contact with Beatrice. Why doesn't she go find her son? Sigh. Abandoning her own son. She must not be doing too well. Forget it. On this joyous day, I won't mention her. My mum immediately breathed a sigh of relief when she heard that, but she opened her mouth and I waited for her to explain. Yet she still said nothing. My last bit of hope vanished completely. In my past life, when the ungrateful wolf had achieved success, Beatrice returned. It was the same this time. I knew she would definitely come today, but I wasn't clear on exactly when. However, I didn't care much anymore since my son was accepted into the youth class, and Cambridge had also sent teachers over along with reporters. At this moment, all eyes were focused on our table. My son also took the stage as today's main character. And when he stood up there, Mum and Dad were completely unaware that he was only 15. And that wild child, Beatrice, who they often mention, would be nearly 18 this year if he were still alive. They didn't realize this and kept looking down at their phones. I secretly laughed in my heart, tightly holding Arthur's hand and exchanging a smile with him. My son stood on the stage and declared loudly, "Getting into Cambridge is something I owe most to my mum. Without her support and understanding, I would not have achieved what I have today. Mum, come up here." My son waved to me, and I smoothed out my skirt, just about to go up, when I heard a sharp shout. "She's not your mum. She doesn't deserve to stand up there." Upon hearing this, everyone turned to look at the source of the voice, and I breathed a sigh of relief. She had finally arrived. I turned to look at the newcomer, and it was Beatrice standing next to a big boss with a gold chain. "She's here." She finally came. I couldn't suppress the tension in my heart. It had been over a decade since we last met. She still looked the same, but the difference was that she seemed to have endured a lot in these years. Compared to me, she looked much worse with crow's feet beneath her heavy makeup. At that moment, she approached, holding the hand of a middle-aged man, while her son Arthur Jr. furrowed his brow tightly. "Who are you?" "This is your Aunt Beatrice." I took the initiative to interject. Announcing her identity, Beatrice was extremely excited. "You're talking nonsense, Eleanor's child. I am your real mother." Upon hearing this, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Everyone looking at me in shock. My son raised his eyebrows even higher. "You're just talking nonsense. Aunt, I'm my mom's biological child. You had a son, and then ran away, and that child was raised by Grandma and Grandpa." I have never shied away from mentioning Beatrice's existence, because when the kids were little, they asked me about Grandma and Grandpa. I directly told them that the two elders were indeed alive, but I didn't want to go back. I also told them about Beatrice having a child, and they forced me to adopt. So the Arthur family knew all about the grievances between Beatrice and me. At this moment, Beatrice started crying even more. "Son, she's lying to you. It's her who deceived you. After I had the baby, I let the doctor take the baby to the family and asked your grandparents to help take care of him. But your mum stole you away for so many years. She hasn't come back because she's afraid you would be found. Sister, why are you doing this for so many years? I've been searching for my child. You can't just separate us like this." Upon hearing this, everyone looked at her, and Beatrice was sobbing uncontrollably. Quickly realizing something was off, she raised her head to look around, and seeing everyone looking at her with disdain, she panicked. "Why don't you believe me? It really is her. This isn't right." At that moment, Mrs. Gable stepped forward. "Beatrice, don't talk nonsense." At that time, Higgins brought the child over claiming it was Eleanor's son. After he got beaten by Eleanor, he changed his story and said it was your child. In the end, they even called the police, and only then did they admit that you ran away after giving birth and left the child with your parents. How could those two elderly people take care of it? So they just abandoned the child. Hearing this, Beatrice was shocked. My mum immediately stood up. "I didn't lose it. I had someone deliver it to Eleanor." Mrs. Gable curled her lips. "I went to Eleanor's wedding, but didn't see the child." "Yeah, old Mr. Evans. You two shouldn't talk nonsense." My mum became anxious right away. "I had someone deliver it to Eleanor." And Beatrice, don't be confused. Your sister has been raising the child for so many years. You should thank her. Look at how good this child is. He got into Cambridge University. My mum was really afraid that this matter would not end well, especially when she saw the look in my eyes. She inexplicably grew anxious and quickly changed her tone. Beatrice immediately wiped her tears and said to me, "Sister, it seems I've misunderstood. But son, I really am your biological mother." The son looked at her in shock, then turned to me. "You're talking nonsense. I'm not your son." My mother-in-law also stepped forward and slapped her across the face. "What nonsense are you talking? That child was born after my daughter-in-law carried him for 10 months. There are records from when she was pregnant to when she gave birth. She bled heavily during childbirth and nearly lost her life. We had to pull so many strings at the hospital for her rescue. You open your mouth and claim that my eldest grandson is your child. Don't you have any shame?" My father-in-law also stepped forward and angrily rebuked. "If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll call the police and have you arrested." Beatrice moved her lips, her face swollen and bruised from the beating. She cowered and suddenly stared at me. I raised an eyebrow, and then she reacted. "It's you, Eleanor. You're the one who falsified everything." The man beside her growled even louder. "You're well off now. I hear you've even opened a restaurant in the city. These things can all be faked." The only proof is a paternity test. We will take the child for a paternity test, and then everything will be clear. However, my son is unwilling, and my in-laws are protecting us, while my dad and mom are helping Beatrice. Eleanor, why don't you just give the child back to your little sister? Yes, Beatrice has had it tough out there for so many years. Don't you have 2 kids of your own? Just let her have her child back. At this moment, everyone turned to look and began to discuss among themselves. What on earth is going on? Did you kidnap someone else's child, and now you don't want to give them back? You can't just end a relationship that has lasted more than a decade. We're sisters after all. We're family. Don't speak nonsense. I've already said he's my biological son. How could I possibly give him away? Beatrice, you keep insisting your son is yours. Do you have any proof? Does the child have a birthmark? Mum, did you see me accept that child with your own eyes? Both of them looked taken aback. I sneered. I forgot to tell you. My son is only 15 this year and was accepted into the Cambridge youth class. Your son is probably 18. The ages don't match. You've got the wrong son. Upon hearing this, everyone finally reacted. Yes, Arthur Jr. is 15 years old. I went to his full moon celebration when he was a month old. Right. I remember now. Arthur Jr. is the younger brother, the child born to Eleanor in the 3rd year of her marriage. Old Mr. Evans. At that time, Eleanor didn't invite you all. Yes, I remember that too. At that moment, the look on my parents' faces was simply terrible. Beatrice stumbled 2 steps forward, her face filled with disbelief. You're talking nonsense. I understand now. You must have intentionally reported the child's age low, just so you wouldn't have to return it to me. Everyone laughed scornfully, saying that Beatrice had gone mad. As soon as the words left her mouth, a teacher from Cambridge University stood up. You're the one talking nonsense. If that were true, then the admission qualifications for the Cambridge youth class would be cancelled. And I will definitely report this to the Department of Education. Moreover, we should call the police to investigate clearly. After all, Arthur Jr. was only 15 years old when he applied. At this moment, my son also took out his ID card. I am willing to undergo a paternity test with you, and am ready to report this matter to the police. However, if I am not your son, you will bear the consequences for slandering and defaming my mother. I will never forgive you. Arthur Jr. is the child I carried for 10 months, and since he was little, he has been understanding and filial. My in-laws have treated me very well, and my daughter stands firmly by my side. You speak ill of my mother, yet you have no evidence other than your words. My mother has proof of childbirth, along with the household registration and ID card. What do you have? My mother suddenly turned pale. She looked at me and said, You're lying, Eleanor. If Arthur Jr. is really your child, then what about Beatrice's son? I shrugged my shoulders and said, Probably at the welfare home. I pretended to suddenly understand. Right. 18 years ago, when I was at work, there was indeed a day when the security guard told me that someone claiming to be my mother wanted to send my son over so that I could take him away. After I went down and checked the surveillance, I found out that I didn't recognize that person at all. So, I called the police. They took the child away, probably to the orphanage. My colleagues can vouch for this. If you don't believe me, you can check the police report. Hearing this, Beatrice let out a sharp scream, lunged at me, but I was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and I slapped her. You dare hit me, Eleanor. Return my son. I sneered. You, this beast, ran off as soon as you gave birth to a bastard, threw the child onto my head, wanting me to raise him for you. You've been out there, indulging for over 10 years. And now that my son has succeeded, you come back to pick the fruit. I'm telling you, you don't have that fortune. A dropout like you could never raise a genius like my son. Dream on. Why don't you ask your mum who had someone deliver the child to my company? Why didn't she bring him herself? My mum panicked, meeting Beatrice's gaze, and quickly explained. I was afraid. I was afraid Eleanor wouldn't want to see me, so I paid someone I didn't know to take him there. I was hiding on the side and clearly saw Eleanor holding the child. She suddenly looked at me. Eleanor, how could you bear to send the child away? That is your own nephew. That's your own grandson. And you don't care. Beatrice yelled hysterically. Shut up, all of you. My son is Arthur Jr. It must be Eleanor who is deceiving me. Beside her, Mr. Gold said in a deep voice. How could my son Leo end up in an orphanage? Son, if you don't give me an explanation, I will never let this go. At this moment, Beatrice was also in a panic, and I took out my phone to call the police. When the police arrived, they were helpless. Beatrice started to make a scene. And in the end, I agreed to undergo a paternity test, and it was expedited. Then my son went back to continue attending his promotion banquet, and I assured the teacher from Cambridge University that there would definitely be no mistakes, as all his information was genuine. 2 hours later, the proof from the paternity test came out. Upon receiving it, Beatrice immediately broke down. I am the biological mother of the child. Beatrice lost her composure, looking up at me in disbelief. Did you really send my child to an orphanage? I shrugged my shoulders. I have no idea where this wild child came from. How could I keep it and raise it myself? I've told you countless times. Handing it over to the police would definitely mean it ends up in an orphanage. If luck is on your side, he will stay in the orphanage, and you might see him again. If luck is not on your side, he might just be adopted halfway through. If I were you, I would head to the orphanage right now to take a look before she could react. Leo slapped her hard, knocking her down to the ground. You said you would leave me a seed, but now we don't even know where the child is. Leo raised his foot and kicked her hard, causing Beatrice to scream. Her parents rushed over to protect her, but they were no match for Leo. At this moment, my mum finally thought of me, turned around, and grabbed my hand. Eleanor, you must think of a way. Do you want to just stand there and watch your sister get beaten to death? I shook off her hand. Aren't you just watching as my sister pushes me to the edge? If I don't have evidence today, I'll be labeled as a child thief, and I'll become a human trafficker. You're the one who gave birth to me. Why? Why do you have to treat me this way? My mum got anxious. Why are you being so calculative? Child, we're all family, and since you have such good conditions, what's wrong with raising one more? I shouldn't have held any illusions about them. I shook off her hand. Sorry, I can't help you. Either you call the police, or I won't care about this anymore. With the paternity test certificate in hand, I turned directly to the police. I want her to publicly apologize today and compensate for the emotional distress. She disrupted my son's graduation banquet, and I won't let her off the hook. Then Arthur called in a lawyer to handle the matter, and we hurried back to attend the child's graduation banquet. The teacher from Cambridge sighed in relief upon seeing the paternity test certificate. This is good. At least my son's future won't be ruined. After the banquet ended, our family returned to the store. Arthur had also bought a house here. The next day, my parents called me crying, saying, Eleanor, please come. Let's go to the orphanage together. Okay, we're begging you, for your mother's sake. Just come help your sister. She's almost being beaten to death. Hearing this, I glanced at Arthur, and he nodded at me, so I agreed, and went to the orphanage with him. When we met, Beatrice was covered in injuries, her face swollen and battered. Upon seeing me, a glimmer of resentment flashed in her eyes. I smiled coldly. This was all brought upon her by herself, and had nothing to do with me. When we arrived at the orphanage, the people inside told us that the child had long since run away. Run away? What do you mean? Beatrice looked shocked. A petty thief. He stole things several times. And after graduating from vocational school, he never continued his studies. Then he started dating. If you're looking for him, go to a fried rice stall in the snack street. He's there. When we rushed to the snack street to inquire, we saw Leo Jr. sitting behind a stall playing a game. In front of him was a woman, heavily pregnant, frying rice. There was also a child, only 3 years old. At the woman's feet, I was utterly stunned at this scene. He was only 18 himself, and yet he had a child who was already 3. Is this even reasonable? Looking at the woman's age, she must be in her 30s. Beatrice stumbled over and asked, "Are you Leo Jr.?" Without looking up, he replied, "Yes." "What's the matter?" The woman making fried rice looked suspiciously at Beatrice. "Who are you? Who are you again?" "I am his woman." "Who are you?" Beatrice was furious. "Leo Jr. is only 18 and you're already over 30, right?" The woman pounded the pot loudly. "So what can't you see? This baby in my belly is his. What about this child? The one on the ground is my ex-husband's." Beatrice nearly fainted. "You actually got divorced. You old woman." Hearing this, the woman with the fried rice slapped across the face. "Damn it! How dare you call me an old woman? I think you're the old woman. How can you come here and mock me when you yourself have been beaten to a pulp? Leo Jr., are you dead? If someone dares to say your wife is an old woman, you go and beat her up for me." Leo Jr. got up and, without saying a word, slapped Beatrice hard, leaving her dazed. Then Leo rushed out. "What the hell are you doing?" Seeing the big gold chain, Leo Jr. immediately cowed, hiding behind the woman. "Is someone like you really my son? You must be mistaken. I compared the photos I took from the orphanage with Leo Jr. And it really is him." "That's right, Leo Jr. These are your biological parents." Leo Jr. looked at them in shock. "How is that possible? If you don't believe it, you can go do a paternity test. Do you see the clothes on your dad and mom? They're rich." At this moment, Leo Jr. eyes lit up, and he quickly pulled the woman over. "Do you see? These are my dad and mom. Your child in your belly will be blessed in the future." "I'm sorry. I didn't recognize it earlier. I'm truly sorry." Beatrice looked at them with a wave of disgust, stammering, "It's impossible. How can you be my son? I enjoy the spectacle and thrive on chaos." "Beatrice, how can you do this? You haven't been home for over a decade, and now that you're back, it's to find your biological son. How can you not recognize him when he's right in front of you?" Arthur chimed in. "You keep saying your son is the most outstanding now that he's right in front of you. Don't say such things that would hurt the child's feelings." Beatrice was so infuriated by the two of us that she nearly fainted. I took the opportunity to push Leo Jr. "Quick, find a place for your dad and mom to take you out for a meal. And while you're at it, get a paternity test. It's time to acknowledge your roots." Last night, Arthur had already sent someone to investigate Leo's information. His big gold chain is fake. And Leo isn't a businessman. He's just a good-for-nothing who lives off others. For so many years he hasn't achieved anything. Just wanted to come over and take my family's money, but what he didn't expect was that I never gave him a chance. Now seeing his own son in this state, he was instantly bewildered. But I wouldn't let him off that easily. It wasn't until they received the results at the paternity test center that I felt relieved. Rotten genes should be together. And my parents were also stunned, as the little punk with dyed red hair in front of them actually already had a child. Moreover, this woman is on her second marriage. They were so angry that their bodies trembled. They sent them back to their parents' old house and turned to leave with Arthur. Beatrice panicked. It was too late to say anything now. Leo Jr. was convinced they were wealthy and had moved in with his wife into her parents' house. When Beatrice returned, she had no home, and the entire family of 7 was living in that small house. Mrs. Gable told me that their home was in an uproar, as Leo Jr. was getting married. and demanding a betrothal gift of £200. And the woman was insisting on a meeting gift as well, bringing the total to over £3,000. How could they possibly come up with that? Originally, neither of them had accomplished anything. They just wanted to take advantage of me. Little did they know, I had made preparations in advance and returned a worthless individual back to them. Now, no matter what they say, they are unwilling to relent and are filled with regret. But I am no fool and won't concern myself with them. When Leo Jr. realized they couldn't come up with the money, he beat Leo with a stick. When my parents tried to intervene, they also got hit. My dad collapsed and lost consciousness while my mom was pushed down the stairs and broke her leg. Beatrice wanted to run away but was interrupted when Leo Jr. broke her arm. When I got to the hospital, I saw them lying there wailing. My mom was holding my hand. Eleanor, Mom was wrong. Mom was wrong. Can you help? Please drive him away. Mum. How can that be? That's Beatrice's biological son. Your own grandson. He turned out this way because he was left without parents to teach him. You have to give him all your love and guide him back on the right track. My mum felt utterly hopeless upon hearing this. I pulled my hand back, paid her the medical fees, and then turned a blind eye. Beatrice, in pain, couldn't lift her arm to ask me for money. I kicked her away without hesitation. You have nothing to do with me. Beatrice, yesterday, you ruined my son's promotion banquet and slandered me. We haven't settled that score yet. You still want to ask me for money. Dream on. The alimony from my parents will be at the minimum, and I won't take care of anything else. In my past life, I died due to their scheming, and in this life, I will never fall for it again. After I left, my dad and mum were still crying behind me, and Mrs. Gable occasionally brought news that Leo Jr. stubbornly refused to leave the house, turning my parents into his servants. That woman gave birth to a child, a boy, and now they were even less able to leave. Leo Jr. would frequently ask them for money, and if they didn't give it, he would hit them while Beatrice was forced to go out and sell goods. In short, the whole family earned money to support his spending. It's really nice to see this family falling apart. Half a year later, Arthur and I returned to our hometown to deal with the property matters. We planned to sell the house and settle down in London with our son and daughter. I saw Beatrice in just half a year. She looked a decade older, her hair all gray. When she saw me, she rushed over. Eleanor, it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. You didn't die from jumping off a building. All your money is mine. It's all mine. She chased after my car, screaming her heart out. A cold smile curled at the corners of my lips. She had reincarnated as well. But unfortunately, the opportunity for rebirth was all wrong. In this life, she could never hurt me again. Let her spend her days with her worthless son. The cycle of abuse and deceit has finally been broken. Not through anger, but through the calm, unwavering assertion of boundaries. Eleanor's journey reminds us that while we cannot control the actions of those around us, we have total authority over whether we allow them to destroy our future. As the dust settles on the lives of those who sought to use her, Eleanor stands tall, not as a victim, but as the architect of her own peace.